Good evening, everyone. Guys, in this video, I want to explain why I said there would be an incident, an attack, an event, some sort of act against the West on the 20th of December. Now, I want to caveat this by saying, last night I was on a live stream last night when this was happening, and we commented on this in real time, and it was absolutely devastating, especially when we found out children were involved. Like I genuinely can't, in my head, I don't understand why some people do this. I really don't. I've tried to understand what that thought process that goes into somebody's head when they think, yeah, do you know what? This is what I'm going to do. Like, why? It's just, and I think I think, I'm going to use the words from Lord of the Rings, what can men do against such senseless violence? Senseless hate, so what is it we can do? What can men do against such senseless hate? It's unbelievable what's happening. But I want to start this video off by giving you the reasons why I said there would be an incident on the 20th. And then when you understand this reasoning, when I'm saying things that, we're heading towards a global conflict of an industrial scale, we need to understand that there's nothing to stop it now. That, things are in motion that can't be undone. So a couple of weeks back, I did a video to our subscribers community. I've talked about it on here. I've talked about it on the live streams quite a lot. And I identified the 20th of December as a potential date that something could happen. Now, I initially said this would. I looked at the United Kingdom. I said, right, okay. I was looking at the data points. So the data points were: one, Parliament breaks up on the 19th. In the United Kingdom, the politicians, they break up on the 19th of December. So there'll be nobody in the office on the 20th. Also on the 20th, it was a Friday. Predominantly bad things happen on a Friday. On a normal Friday, you have people calling in sick, you have people going home early, a lot of security is a lot laxer because people, don't want to be in work on a Friday afternoon. Now, this particular Friday in the United Kingdom, it's called Mad Friday or Black Eye Friday, is when everybody goes out. So, that situation where people calling in sick, people not wanting to be in work, people going home early, that is, that's emphasized. It's a lot more, it's a lot more pronounced. So looking at all this, then looking at the fact that it's Christmas, people are going to be enjoying themselves with the families, whatever, incident happened on that day, it was going to have a much bigger effect than if it would have happened any other time, of the year. Now, like I said, initially, I said this was a warning for the United Kingdom, but then I expanded that. I said, look, you know what? This is actually a warning to anyone who witnesses Christmas on the 25th of December. Obviously, there's, Orthodox Christians, they celebrate on the 7th of January, and then the New Year, I don't know why, on the 14th of January. And that's why I said this. I wasn't plucking a date out of the dark and throwing, I didn't have a dartboard, and I didn't have a calendar on a dartboard and I was throwing darts at it. I picked that date because I saw the data points pointing towards that. It's absolutely tragic what's happened in Germany. And one of the things when I was in the military, one of the things I wasn't prepared for is incidents involving children. I wasn't prepared for it. Everything else, men fighting age, absolutely not a problem. But as soon as children get involved, it's for me, it's just a totally different. It's just totally different. I'm just going to read you the headline here, guys. And I don't want this video to be about this incident in Germany, but I do think it's fair to bring that to the forefront of everybody's thoughts while we go on, because because of the data points that led to this, we've got to understand what data points there are at the moment. And when I go on to the rest of the video and I talk about Ukraine and I talk about the data points, and I will explain to you guys what politicians are saying and what Putin's saying, what Trump's saying, none of it makes any, it doesn't matter because the data points are not pointing there. Yes, it's okay that people say things, but if the data points, if the geography isn't there, it doesn't matter. So I'm just going to read you the headline, guys. This was updated 6 minutes ago. I'll put this link in the description. Obviously, whenever you guys are watching this, it will have updated more and the headline may have changed. German Christmas market attack latest. So the toll rises to 5 with 200 injured after brutal car attack. A 9-year-old child among the 5, with 200 other people injured in the attack, including 40 in a critical condition. Again, like I said at the beginning, what can men do against such senseless hate? Yeah, it's just absolutely insane what's happening. Now, we're going to go on to Ukraine now, guys. And we're going to talk about Ukraine a little bit and how there's a lot in there. There's a lot of rhetoric at the moment in the, in the media about peace deals and ceasefires, and Putin wants to come to a ceasefire and he's willing to talk to Donald Trump. And, Zelensky's come out and he said, we'd be willing to negotiate as long as the US is backing any peace deal. But I'm going to explain to you how it's all smoke and mirrors and none of it's got any authenticity in it. And it all comes down to geography. So first of all, I'm going to go to the shared map with you guys and we'll see what's been happening over the last, over the last 48 hours. Okay, so got Pokrovs, Valyeka Novosilka. Here we've got that the village of Hanivka, and then here we've got another village. I'm not even going to try and pronounce this, guys. Konstantinopolske. We'll call it Konstantinopolske. Okay, we'll call it that. Well, I think I pronounced that right. So what I want you to do is I want you to watch how much ground again the Russians are taking, and then we're going to talk about this little region here. So I'm going to just zoom forward, guys. This date of the map here is on the 20th of November. We're going to zoom forward to the 20th of December. Oh, for some reason, it's not going on to the 20th. Okay, that's peculiar. Right. Okay, it must have not updated. But okay, so this is the situation of the ground on as of the 19th. And again, I keep saying this and I keep reiterating it. Look how much ground the Russians are taking. It's just a constant onslaught for the Ukrainians, and the Ukrainians are really struggling now with manpower. They don't have enough men to throw out this situation. But from today, this town has gone now. This town has gone. So you can look how quickly they've moved up this, up this valley, up this. Yeah, it will be a valley, I guess, because there's a river at the bottom. So at some point, that must be the low ground. So, the Russians have moved up this valley really, really quickly. Look how close they are here to closing all this area off. It's absolutely unbelievable, how much ground the Russians are taking every day. And there really isn't anything to stop, Putin right now. There's nothing on the ground to stop Putin. Now, let me tell you why. Let me talk about what the what I feel the only realistic chance for a ceasefire is. So, if you see this river here, it literally comes all the way down from Belarus through Kiev, through Kremenchuk, through Dnipro, down to Zaporizhia. So it bisects the country literally in half. This area here, Poltava, this is a big gas-producing region. Obviously, the Donetsk region, that is a big, that's got a lot of natural resources. So right now, there's like we've just seen on the map, guys. Okay, there's nothing that's stopping the Russians pushing forwards because it's just empty. It's just flat farmland at the moment in this region, just flat farmland. And as we can see, the Ukrainian defense isn't there. They just don't have any defense. If they did have any defense, the Russians wouldn't be able to push as far as they could. So what I think Putin's going to want to do initially is push all the way up to this river here, River Dnipro, and at that point, that river will form some sort of natural boundary, natural barrier I mean, can you imagine fighting over this river? Let's just, let's just zoom in. I mean, I say this is probably one of the wider points. Let's just look. Let's say from there to there. So at this distance, that width of the Dnipro is 30.7 kilometers. I admit that is a relatively wide part of the Dnipro, and it's a lot smaller in some other places. But you can see, even in some of the even in some of the smaller places, what's this different distance here? Distance from there to there is 850 meters. So that's, almost a kilometer. That's a long distance to mount an assault over. So at the very minimum, I feel Vladimir Putin wants to come up to the River Dnipro. Like I keep saying, that's going to form a natural barrier. Now, the problem here with coming up to the River Dnipro is and he'll also want to take control of the city of Kiev, city of Kremenchuk, city of Dnipro, and Zaporizhia. Now, the problem here is these towns are not all on his side of the river. So he will have to come over the river, for example, to take control of Dnipro. Kremenchuk, I think, is on the side that he would be on. But Kiev, the main, the main city, the main jewel in Eastern Europe, is the lion's share of Kiev is on the western side, which is obviously on the other side of the Dnipro for him. So if he wants to take control of Kiev, he needs to come over the Dnipro. So that's going to cause logistical problems in itself. But I don't see any realistic way that anyone can have a ceasefire, peace talks, until either Russia have taken all their soldiers, all their troops, out of Ukraine and restored the 2013 borders. That means handing Crimea back, handing back all these places, and pledging to rebuild all the towns and cities that have been destroyed. That's one way that we could have a ceasefire. And the other way is if Vladimir Putin manages to move all his troops up to the River Dnipro. Remember, it's all about geography. It's not about politics. It's about geography. Now, I know Donald Trump is a very good deal breaker and he's fantastic and all the rest of it. But I don't think Donald Trump will be able to move that River Dnipro closer to the front line there. So unless that happens, there's just no help. There's just no chance of a ceasefire, And these are the data points, that we're looking at when we're discussing these things, okay? So if we look at the rhetoric as well that's being built up, the rhetoric now for boots on the ground by the United Kingdom, it's pretty much a done deal. I would suspect that this is planned to happen either just before the politicians get back. Again, guys, listen, this is just me speculating now. I would speculate that this is planned to happen just before the politicians come back from leave, because, then they can say, oh, we've only just got back from leave, but then they're in office and they can do stuff, your guess is as good as mine on that. But that's when right now, they're the data points that I'm looking at. And of course, while we're talking about all this, we have got the Russians and the Ukrainians firing long-range drones, long-range missile systems at each other, at a rapid, in rapid succession. There really isn't anything now that's stopping. Like, these guys have both taken the gloves off, and they both know they're either going to win and survive, or they're going to lose and not survive. And this is what a lot of people, it's not that people don't understand. I think people don't conceptualize how bad this is for the Russians. So the Russians know now that if they lose this conflict, now whatever a win and a lose means, we can argue on that, but if the Russians lose this conflict, they know that it's the end to Russia as they know it. And Russia is going to be reduced to pretty much, I'd say, Moscow, St. Petersburg, and maybe some of the northern region. There's an what's it called? Hang on. I think it's Yuzhny Island, and up to Yuzhny Island in the, off the north coast. That's where they do a lot of their nuclear testing. And the Russians know this. The rest of Russia will balkanize in these circumstances. So, Putin knows what's at stake. The West also know what's at stake. Europe knows what's at stake. And the problem is we don't understand here in the West, especially in the United Kingdom, how bad this situation is and how this is going to drag everyone into a European conflict. Now, a lot of people are talking about Donald Trump and, oh, he's going to have this peace deal and he's not. He's not. It's not going to happen. Not going to happen. Never going to happen. Never was going to happen. Nobody ever thought it was going to happen. What's going to happen is Donald Trump will propose some sort of, some sort of deal, whatever that deal is, and neither side are going to agree to this deal. It's going to be just not going to be workable for either side. And then Donald Trump will come out and he'll say something like, listen, guys, I gave the Ukrainians, I gave the Russians a great peace deal. None of those guys are taking it. So I'm not going to invest any more US tax dollars into an overseas war. We're not getting involved. We're going to rebuild America. We're going to make America great again. If those guys in Europe want to fight, let them fight. We're not getting involved. Fine. Okay. That is absolutely fine. What Donald Trump is going to do, Donald Trump will have a war with Iran around about, the earliest this can happen is March 2026. Now, the reason I'm saying this is because, again, it doesn't matter about the politics. It all comes down to logistics and geography. If you guys, in fact, let me just get this on the map real quick. Where are we? Wrong part of the world. Totally wrong part of the world. Right. Let me find Iran. Iran on the map. Where are we? Right. Yeah. Let me share this with you. So it all comes down to geography and logistics. So, right, okay. So here we've got Iran. You guys know where Iran is, don't you? So we've got Iran, we've got Iraq, we've got Saudi Arabia, we've got Qatar, we've got United Arab Emirates, Oman, Dubai. So any invasion of Iran, has to come from the sea. Like, realistically, where are they going to come from? If somebody's going to invade Iran, and we know there's going to be an invasion of Iran because of House Resolution 559, which clearly states Iran getting nuclear weapons is unacceptable to the United States, and the United States will take any action necessary to prevent that. So if this was passed on the 1st of November 23. So if we understand that, then there's got to be an invasion of Iran, because you can't stop Iran making nuclear you can't stop the Iranian nuclear program from the air, because I would suspect that this is all underground. Now, look how big Iran is with regards to Iraq. Now, in the 2003 invasion of Iraq, there were 600,000 troops. So if we just use that number, 600,000 troops, just because there's a lot of documentation about it. It's very easy to find the information. It's open source, but I would say you would need a considerable more than 600,000 troops. But again, if you use them right and you don't overextend yourself, and you just want to take, Tehran, Ifashan, and some other key towns, then maybe you don't need that many troops. But anyway, we'll go with 600,000 troops. So the only country in the world, barring none, who have the capacity to transport 600,000 troops is the United States. Nobody else has that capacity. Britain surely doesn't have that capacity. Not Canada, nobody else. Literally, the Americans are the only ones who have that capacity. So coming in then to the looking for an invasion of Iran, you would speculate that it would be somewhere down here on the south coast. Pick your place, doesn't really matter. They could go for one of these ports. It doesn't really matter. It's going to be somewhere on this south coast here. Now, this also brings us on to the drones, because what do you think what do we think realistically the US military are going to do before they send an amphibious invasion? Do we think they're going to conduct reconnaissance? Yes, of course they are. How do you think they're going to conduct that reconnaissance? Do you think they're going to use satellites? No, you can't get enough information from satellites. Do you think they're going to use, high altitude drones? No, of course not. First of all, they'll get shot down. Second of all, they won't be getting the resolution and the sensor readings that they're going to need from, really low on the ground. So they're going to use these smaller drones. Now, the similarities between New Jersey and the south coast of Iran is this big blue thing here. So that's what I think is happening with the drones, guys. And I've done a lot of videos about the drones, but I think right now, and I would speculate that the drones are being used as some sort of psyop, and testing their equipment. So the drones will probably be off the coast of New Jersey in an underwater aircraft carrier. And I know that sounds far-fetched, but the technology is really old. The submarine, and then these drones land and they come out of the submarine, and then they go and conduct the reconnaissance, and then they come back to the submarine. Now, the reason there's such a hysteria about these drones at the moment is because when the United States start flying them, say, I don't know, just for example, over this, what's this town here? I don't know, Chabar or whatever it is, or whatever this town's called, guys. I think it's called Chabar. When they start flying their drones over Chabar, and the Iranians say, the United States are flying drones all over our country, the Americans will say, hey guys, it's nothing to do with us. This, this happened to us at the back end of 2024 as well. But, this is, it's plausible deniability for the invasion of Iran. So that's why the United States are not going to get involved with any conflict in Eastern Europe. And again, it comes down to logistics. So So logistically, look at all the countries here that can support Ukraine. Look at all the countries here that can support Ukraine with logistically. You don't need any ships. You don't need anything. You don't need any fancy, aircraft landings or anything like that. You literally truck the stuff in. And that's why the Ukrainians have managed to put up such a fight, because of the logistics and because of the bordering countries giving them support. Whereas if you think of Georgia, like, how can anyone support Georgia? Like, where can you truck lots of logistics into Georgia? You can't. You can't come from Azerbaijan. You can't come from Armenia. You certainly can't come from the sea. Potentially coming from Turkey, but that's, that has its own problems, so that's why I feel Georgia is going to be will fall under control of Russia, but the Ukrainians, they get the logistical supply chain from the Western Europe, and it can be trucked in by trucks, off-road vehicles, 4x4s, mainly train at the moment, but I'm not sure why Vladimir Putin is not taking out the train lines. But anyway, so that's, just in a nutshell, why the United States are going to, where are we? Why the United States will have an invasion of Iran round about March 2026. They're the only ones who can do it, and this is why I keep saying, we are heading towards a global conflict of an industrial scale, guys. We really are. Like, the data points are out there, when I'm looking at this holistically, all these things now are making sense, from the drones, from the rhetoric, from the boots on the ground talk, from Putin, how he's started to use this new type of missile. So everything's there for everyone to see, and all we need to do now is to connect the breadcrumbs and follow and connect the dots. Guys, listen, we're heading to a global conflict of an industrial scale. I've been saying this for the longest time. I said there'd be an incident on the I said it'd be likely that there's an incident on the 20th. I gave you guys my reasons for that. Guys, listen, you guys, everybody now should be really paying attention to what's happening, and people should be really conscious about global events, because when these things happen, they happen really quickly. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. We will literally wake up on a Monday morning, everything will be fine, and then by Friday afternoon, we'll be like, wow, what just happened? It will be boots on the ground, cities attacked, new escalations, new weapons, things go. It will just be absolute carnage and mayhem, guys, for about a week, and then things will calm down. People will get used to it. The news cycle will change, and then people will just become normalized to that situation. Anyway, guys, I'm going to Mac to Grid. I'll get you guys another video later.